Hare Krishna, dear devotees, please join us. Today we'll be studying Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 4, the Incarnations of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Hare Krishna, Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrind ki jai, Nitai Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Please join us for Mangalacharan prayers together. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirye Shratam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhakti Nashtiki. Hare Krishna. Please join us in the recitation of the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, 11th Canto, Chapter 4, the Incarnation of Godhead. Shri Rajo Vacha.
Shri Rajo Vacha.
Yani Yani Hakarmani.
Yani Yani Hakarmani.
Ye Swachanda Janmabhihi.
Ye Swachanda Janmabhi.
Chakre Karoti Kartava.
Chakre Karoti Kartava.
Haristani Bhuvantu Naha.
Haristani Bhruvantuna.
Please.
Shri Rajo Vacha.
Shri Rajo Vacha.
Yani Yani Hakarmani.
Yani Yani Hakarmani.
Ye Swachanda Janmabhi.
Ye Swachanda Janmabhihi.
Chakre Karoti Kartava.
Chakre Karoti Kartava.
Haristani Bhruvantuna.
Haristani Bhuvantu Naha. Shri Raja Uvacha.
Shri Raja Vacha.
The king Nimi said,
The king Nimi said,
Yani Yani,
Yani Yani,
each,
each,
Iha,
Iha,
in this world,
in this world,
Karmani,
Karmani,
of the activities,
of the activities,
Yeh,
yeah,
by each,
by each,
Swachanda,
Swachanda,
assumed independently,
assumed independently,
Janmabhi,
Janmabhi,
of the appearances,
of the appearances,
Chakre,
Chakre,
he performed,
Karoti,
is performing, Karta,
Karta,
will perform, Va,
or,
Harihi,
Hari,
the Supreme Lord Hari,
the Supreme Lord Hari, Tani, these,
Bhuvantu,
Bhruvantu,
please tell,
Naha,
us. Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. King Nimi said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead descends into the material world by His internal potency and according to His own desire. Therefore, please tell us about the various pastimes Lord Hari has performed in the past, is performing now, and will perform in this world in the future in His various incarnations. Purport. In this 4th chapter, the son of Jayanti, Drumila, will address King Nimi. The 48th verse of the 3rd chapter stated, Murtyabhimatiyatmanaha. One should worship the particular form of the Lord most attractive to oneself. Similarly, it was stated in the previous chapter, Stavah Shutva Namadharim. One should bow down to Lord Hari after glorifying Him with prayers. Thus it is assumed that the worshipper has knowledge of the Supreme Lord's transcendental qualities and pastimes in order to execute the process of worship previously described. King Nimi, therefore, is eagerly inquiring about the various incarnations of the Supreme Lord so that he can ascertain which particular form of the Supreme Lord is most suitable for his personal worship. It is understood that King Nimi is a Vaishnava or devotee who is trying to advance in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is important to note in this regard that the word Abhimata Murti, meaning one's most desirable form, does not indicate that one may concoct a form of the Lord by one's own whim. Advaitam achyuttam anadim ananta rupam. All the forms of the Supreme Lord are anadim or eternal. Thus there is no question of concocting a form, because such concoction will be adi, or the origin of the concocted form. Abhimata Murti means that among the eternal forms of the Lord, one should select that form which most inspires one's love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such love cannot be imitated, but it is automatically aroused when one follows the prescribed rules and regulations given by the bona fide spiritual master and submissively hears these descriptions of Srimad Bhagavatam. Hare Krishna. Please join us for Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshitarine Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So before we begin, happy Ekadashi to all. It's also known as Madhav Tithi. So today is a very auspicious day in the western side of the world. In eastern side, sometime it is on the next day. So again, those who are observing it, as well as those who are going to observe it, it's going to be very auspicious for both sides. And on this day, we refrain from grains and beans. And we actually engage our time more in devotional service. So please join us, very auspicious day. And so, as we have been covering, King Nimi, he's asking questions. And who is he asking questions? He's asking the 9 Yogendras. So these 9 Yogendras they have descended from the skyway, right? Akash Marg. So they could easily travel. And it's not like today the astronauts, they have to be heavily, layers of clothes, and so that the body doesn't burst out in zero gravity in the space. So they have to have special, clothes and special, very well secured oxygen and all that stuff. Yet these 9 Yogendras, they were Paramhamsas and so exalted personalities that they could freely go from one planet to another. Wherever they want, they could not be stopped, and they could very easily travel. So, and how many clothes? They didn't even wear any clothes, and they were adult bodies. And their body was so effulgent that it was challenging sun. So that has been given. Just like the Chatur Kumaras, the 4 Kumaras of Lord Brahma, his sons, and they decided to stay as toddlers. So for eternity they decided that they would not grow, they would stay as toddlers, yet at the same time they were in the very early stage, they were the sons of Brahma, and they became great devotees after they visited Vaikuntha. So that's also some of the pastimes we have covered earlier. So here Devashi Narad is narrating this story to Vasudeva as how King Nimi got this association of the 9 Yogendras. And these 9 Yogendras were sons of Rishabdev, who had 100 sons, and Shri Rishabdev was an incarnation of Lord Shri Krishna. And he was son of Nabhi. Nabhi was son of Avihotra, and who was son of Manu. Actually, and then Vivaswata Manu, and then of course Vivaswata Manu is son of Vivaswan, the sun god. And when Devashi Narad is narrating it to who? He is narrating it to Vasudeva. And this incident of this conversation between Devashi Narad and Vasudeva is being narrated by Shukdev Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, who was fasting until death at the bank of the Ganges. And later on, this whole Srimad Bhagavatam is recited by Sutta Goswami at Namasharanya in the company of the sages. Their spokesperson is Shaunaka Rishi. So, 6 questions have been asked in chapter 2 and chapter 3. Chapter 2, 2 questions were asked, and chapter 3, 4 questions were asked. Now the interesting thing was the 6th question that was asked, which Shri Avirhotra replies to. King Nimi said that, please describe to me the process of karma kand which can free one, from all these reactions in this material world, and one can attain perfection. And then he also says that I had requested this question earlier when Chatur Kumaras, Sanat Kumar, Sananda, Sanak, and so forth. So when those 4 Kumaras had visited me at that time, but they did not respond to me. So now that Navyogendras, they have responded to this, and Shri Avirhotra takes the time to elaborately describe the process of devotional service and how one who does not engage in devotional service, has to suffer. Yet he just touches it on the surface while he immediately brings it that Lord is so merciful that when one is, performing devotional service, one is engaged in devotional service with love, with gratitude, when one is with affection serving Lord Shri Krishna, seeking to give pleasure to Lord Shri Krishna, acting as a order supplier of Lord Shri Krishna, not, using Lord as his order supplier, rather wanting to serve, wanting to give. So that's a true reflection of love. Love is reflected more by giving. It's a giving relationship, not taking relationship. Lust, on the other hand, is taking relationship. So again, when someone approaches a higher personality with the motive of I want this, then it is a taking relationship, and it tinges that relationship is affected, because it becomes a trade transaction. It's not an affection of love. And in the material world we discussed, the mother's love for the child is the closest reflection of Lord's love for us. He is the Supreme Father. Aham Bij Brother Pita, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. So here, King Nimi, he realizes that Navyogendras, the 9 Yogendras are very merciful. They are answering my questions which other sages, other exalted personalities had not answered before. So now he asks a question that if somebody sits down to respond, they would not go anywhere. They would just be, for eternity, they would just be singing the glories. And that's the question which he's asking that we heard in the translation. He wants to know Lord's appearance in this material world, his past appearance in the past, his current incarnations and his future incarnations, and all the activities related. So, when this is heard, Shri Drumila, one of the Navyogendras, he smiles, and then he reveals that, my dear king, if anyone tries to do this, tries to enumerate or describe the fully unlimited personalities, his unlimited pastimes. So again, how do you describe the unlimited qualities of one who is unlimited? So it is not possible. And if one tries to do, that person has the intelligence of a foolish child. That's first response. Because now they are understanding that the king is becoming a little greedy. Lolium is actually good with devotional service, but they would not be able to carry on their journey. They must have something else that they want to attend to. And yet at the same time, they are very merciful to this king, King Nimi. So he is describing, Shri Drumila is describing that even if a great genius can somehow, with lot of time, lot of energy is spending, can count the number of atoms on this earth, or the particles of dust, grains of dust, even if somebody can count that, even that person cannot sufficiently glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Now they are saying this with respect to the scriptures, because it is known that when Anantashesh, he was given the task to carry the material universe, all the planets on his hoods at that time. When he was given this task, he said, but I'm carrying all these universes on my hoods and I will get tired, so when can I rest? So at that time, Lord Vishnu says that once you are able to sing all the glories, once you are able to come to, you have covered all the glories of Lord Krishna's pastimes, his various incarnations and all, so all of Vishnu Tattvas, their pastimes and their qualities, then you can take a break. And then you can start to, as soon as you realize that new pastimes have come, then you can start again. So you get a chance to take a break. And he had been doing this with his thousands of hoods since the beginning and hasn't had a moment to take a break. So you can imagine, before a personality can even come close to understanding where, all the qualities and potencies and activities and forms of Lord Shri Krishna, Lord expands. So we talked about Lord, he expands and he maintains. So those are the two characteristics. He maintains everyone very nicely in the material world as well as spiritual world, and then he's constantly expanding, and his potencies are constantly expanding unlimitedly. So when Sri Drumila says that one cannot do that, it is very right. And sometimes when we have, from the perspective and look at it, it is very surprising that how can Lord, how can we understand that, okay, God is great, and how great he is, we can hardly even touch, a very small spark when he is a rising sun. So that's another example. Because in Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna says, I maintain this and it's just but a spark of my splendor. And he's giving so amazing, prominent presence, his opulences he's describing, only the prominent ones. And there, when Sri Drumila says that, yet at the same time he has to satisfy Maharaj Nimi. So he is very, happy that this king is asking about the supreme benefit. Because in Karma Yoga, the devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is glorified. And now, to be able to have that relationship, we need to know who's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Yet, Srila Prabhupada makes it very simple. A child doesn't have to know his father, he just has to love his father. His father may be so and so, but he doesn't have to. And he gives this very nice example of Prime Minister of England, Gladstone. So Gladstone, he was in his office, and once a delegate comes to meet the Prime Minister, and the secretary says, please wait, he's busy. The Prime Minister is busy. So delegate kept waiting for over an hour, and he became impatient, and he opened the office doors. So when he opened the doors to Gladstone's office, what does he see? Gladstone has his hands on his knees, and a small child is riding him. Now this child happens to be grandson of Gladstone. And in this particular case, what does a child know about Gladstone? That he is my grandfather and he loves me and I love him. That's the loving relationship. While the delegate, the personality who had come to see, this guest was thinking that I am so learned, the child is not learned. I am so grown, the child is not grown. So when we compare based on the qualifications associated with the body, then we may think that I am so much more qualified, but why is Lord so merciful to this child? Because that child has a loving relationship with Lord Shri Krishna. So, few factors which are present in this material world do not matter when it comes to devotional service. One of the factors is age does not matter, because we are all eternal souls and we have been in existence since eternity. So, birth, growth, the 6 changes of this body, maintaining for some time, expanding, having progeny, having children, and then dwindling, and then finally dying. So these are the 6 changes of a material body. But for a spiritual body, it only expands and it maintains. And is eternally existing. So those are the characteristics. And so from that perspective, when we are engaged in devotional service, the age does not matter. It is the love and the affection, the mood with which we serve matters. There's a beautiful example given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. There was this Brahmana, and he was not able to read Sanskrit very well. Yet at the same time, he would go in front of the temple and he would try to read whole of Bhagavad Gita. So he would recite Bhagavad Gita, and he was not very well reciting it. And all the other Brahmanas who will see him reciting every day, they will laugh at him and they will, make fun of him. Yet at the same time, this Brahmana would be crying when he is reading Bhagavad Gita. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sees him, he says, my dear friend, why are you crying? So Brahmana says that, look, Lord Krishna is the Parth Sarthi, is the charioteer of Arjuna. And that is a position, he's taking a lower position, just like we talked about the example of Gladstone and the grandson. So here, he's the Supreme Father, yet he's taking a lower position and allowing Arjuna to be the warrior, and he's the charioteer. And when you are at a battlefield, there is no way the warrior can tell the charioteer to go left or right? So, because there is so much clanking of weapons and so much bombardment and all these sounds are going on, so there is no way to tell, hey, I want you to go left, I want you to go fast, I want you to go slow, nothing like that. So the warrior had to rest his left foot on the back of the charioteer. And when he presses left heavily, then the charioteer knows go very quickly to the left. When he presses right on the back, then now Lord is allowing his devotee to place his foot on Lord's back. Such a loving attitude, such a affectionate father he is. And he is showing it that he is Achyuta. Doesn't matter, he never falls down from his position. He is always carrying out his duties, showing us that we should carry out our duties very nicely. So when this Brahmana explains this, and when he says that when I see Lord Krishna as charioteer of Arjuna, it makes me cry, and these tears, they just flow. And I'm not very learned. My spiritual master said that I have to read Bhagavad Gita, so that's why I'm doing it. I am just following the instructions of my spiritual master. At that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraces this Brahmana. And he says, you have understood the essence of the scriptures. You have understood it like no others. So again, the Brahmana is so lucky that Lord Krishna himself, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Andhar Krishna, Bahar Radha, Radha Krishna together. He embracing this Brahmana, giving him this fatherly embrace, showing him that yes, he has understood. So Lord is Bhav Grahi Janardana, right? So he takes the essence in our heart, the affection, the love, the mood, the way we approach him. He takes that. So age doesn't matter, number of years doesn't matter, the size of the body doesn't matter. What matters is our mood with which we approach. So that's why it is said that when we offer something to Lord, then we should offer it with love, with affection, without having a feeling of getting something in return. What we are looking for in return is that, is the Lord pleased or not? That is what we are looking for. That is nishkama. And that is very, it's very much, it gives peace to our heart, it gives peace to our soul. So we grow in that mode. Otherwise, what happens if we don't do it with this manner and we continue to serve after some time? Our heart, which is supposed to be soft like butter, and Lord is butter thief, we want him to steal the butter, of our heart. So we want him to steal our heart. Yet, if we don't do it with the right mood, we may be doing, engaging in devotional service, but not with the right mood, because devotion means love, affection, having this faith, that mood of gratitude, mood of humility, and with tolerance we are serving the Lord. And if we don't do this, then we become proud. Also, there is a very nice story of a man and a lion. So both were walking in the forest, and all of a sudden there was a argument started between them. And the argument was that the man was saying that, oh, we are so much glorious, and we are so powerful, and we are much advanced than you being. And the lion says, no, actually we are the king of the jungle and we are much powerful. And this is not true. So the man was boasting, and then as he comes, outside the jungle, he sees this big statue of Herculean man, tearing away the jaws of a lion. He says, look, this great warrior, he is, defeating the lion. Then the lion says, this must have been made by a man. If it was made by a lion, the story would have been different, right? So it's very much about the perception that we hold. And we should always be humble at our heart. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that, Tranadapi shunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So one should feel oneself to be humbler than the grass on the street, more tolerant than the tree, not expecting any respect in return, but ready to give respects to all. If we serve Lord Krishna with this mood, if we chant the holy name with this mood, then we can continue to do it eternally. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And so it is very important that we serve, and also it is very important to have devotee association. And we talked about that devotee association is also based on love. It is not based on trade, because when people engage in trade and they are greedy, then it can turn, in an unfavorable manner. Like there is a beautiful story that comes of a selfish, greedy wolf. So this greedy wolf, when he was eating, as life comes from life, Srila Prabhupada discusses in this book as how to sustain life, we rely on vegetables, so we offer Lord vegetables and so forth. So here he was eating another animal, so as this wolf was eating, suddenly a bone got stuck in his throat. And it can't go up or down, so he was feeling the pain. But he thinks about it, that if he goes to a crane, then the crane can easily put its mouth, and because of his long, thin neck, can take out that bone, so he will be relieved. And so he goes to a crane and he says, could you please take this bone out? Now the crane is thinking, this wolf eats us and it's asking me to put my head and my neck in its mouth to pull out the bone, and if I do that, he may very well snap me and kill me. But the wolf is really pleading, and the crane could see that he is crying, his eyes are going red. So having pity on him, agrees. So the wolf opens his mouth and the crane puts his head, gets hold of the bone and takes it out. Now the wolf had said, I will reward you heavily. And at that time, as soon as that is there, the wolf says, very nice, and then turns back and starts walking away. Crane says, what about my reward? Then the wolf says, isn't this reward enough that I did not snap up your head as you were taking out my bone? So this is what happens when we are looking at devotees who are trying to do, any person, any relationship which is based on a trade, that people may become greedy and they can become selfish. Yet at the same time, many stories are there when people become frustrated in all kind of relationships, and then they take shelter of Lord Shri Krishna. Srila Prabhupada's example is there, where he had written Bhagavad Gita, the whole transcript he had done. But his wife, to get tea, she had actually given it in Raddi, right? By weight, she had sold that, thinking it's just collection of papers. And Srila Prabhupada immediately understood that it is time for him to leave the householder's life and take to devotional service fully. And he left his home and went to Vrindavan and engaged in devotional service. And always, seeking to follow his spiritual master's instructions. So he reveals as how so many instances were there which pointed to him, because in his dreams he was saying, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur calling out to him that please take to this mission of spreading Krishna consciousness all around the world. And he was wondering, how could I do this? I'm a grahastha and I'm running this, Prayag pharmacy. I'm a proprietor of this, business. How can I take to sannyas like that? How can I leave my house? Yet at the same time, Lord Krishna, he arranged everything. So all that business that Srila Prabhupada was, managing, his accountant and other people, they cheated him out of it. So he lost all the business. His house conditions showed him that there is no use staying at home. And so, by the mercy of Lord Krishna and by the mercy of his spiritual master, he was able to get out of those clutches of material energy, illusory energy, Maya, and he was able to take to devotional service. He understood it, this is the sign. So sometimes, even though it may look as a negative, but it's actually a very positive aspect. And in Srimad Bhagavatam, Devashi Narad gives his own example, that he was a maidservant's boy, and he got, during the 4 months of rainy season, he got the association of Vedantists, the transcendentalists. And when he accepted the remnants of their food, right, which is Maha, right, it purified his consciousness, and he became attracted to hearing the glories of Lord Shri Krishna. And afterwards, basically what happened was, his mother, when she was going to the garden to pick up vegetables, she was bit by a snake, and she died. Now somebody could say, a small boy, 5 to 7 years of age, just a toddler, and the mother has died and she was the only one. Yet at the same time, he had attained such wonderful realizations and knowledge from the transcendentalists. He understood that this is all the arrangement of Lord Shri Krishna. He had arranged it because his mother was tying him with her affection, hoping that when he will grow old, he would take care of her. But Lord Krishna, he took her away, so now, as a maidservant's boy, he was free to go in his search for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he started his search. So even though it may appear to be a very negative, but actually it was a boon. So blessing comes in disguise at times. And this is where we always learn. Sometimes we are feeling that there is a roadblock. So when there is a roadblock, we should look at it more clearly, with paying attention what's really going on. Because it could be a stepping stone, asking us to just come out of our comfort zone and take that step ahead in the right direction. And to be able to take that step in the right direction, we need devotee association. We need association of exalted devotees. We need the blessings of our spiritual master. And above all, we need the right attitude to approach. And that attitude is an attitude of gratitude and of, devotion to Lord Shri Krishna. So, as Sri Drumila, he is narrating about the various pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna. And he starts wonderful pastimes. So there are 3 important aspects that we are going to focus on. He discusses that Lord Shri Krishna, means again we talk about the Shavtas in the past as well. So he is narrating many of those. And he is saying that Lord, he appeared as Hamsa. So that's also there in 11th Canto. We'll be covering that. Hamsa avatar, as a swan. Hamsa also refers to the people who were in Satyuga or Krite Yuga. They were also called Hamsas, and Hamsas, a swan, has this characteristic. If you mix milk and water together and give it to a swan, the swan knows how to take out milk, leaving the water behind. So similarly, Hamsas have this, the personalities who are Hamsas have this characteristic to derive out what is auspicious from a mixture of auspicious and inauspicious. And one who even go to the higher level, who understand that Lord Krishna is expanding in his multifarious potencies, his energies, and everything is his expansion, then everything should be used in his service. So those personalities are called Paramhamsas. So Srila Prabhupada at Mayapur temple, when the construction was going on, he asked the gardener, what is this? So the gardener looked at it, he said, it's nothing, it's weeds. Srila Prabhupada said, you do not know what its purpose is. You should know what the purpose is. So as a gardener needs to know So similarly, Paramahamsa knows what the purpose is. And Srila Prabhupada had this firm faith on his spiritual master and on Krishna that he engaged in devotional service, so he knew what to do at what time. And he marched on those instructions. So here we hear as how Lord Krishna, he appears as Hamsa avatar. Then, Drumila is saying, Shri Drumila is saying that as Chatur Kumaras. So he's referring that the 4 Kumaras, the sons of Brahma, are also, they are actually Shaktavesh avatars. So there are various kinds of avatars, Yuga avatars, Leela avatars, Shaktavesh avatars, and so forth. So they are also there. Then he comes back to saying that Lord Vishnu in his 3 Purusha incarnations, that is also an incarnation of Lord. And our own father Rishabdev, he was also an incarnation of the Lord. And so he's narrating the various incarnations. So but he is already identified that he's only identifying the prominent incarnations, because otherwise the incarnations are unlimited. So he starts identifying as King Satyavata. He was saved by Matsya Avatar. So King Satyavata, when he was saved, so that was also covered earlier, and he was saved by Matsya Avatar because the whole universe was inundated in the ocean, right? Waters. There was constant rain. And the fish incarnation, he appears first as a small fish, then to a small pot, and the body of the fish was constantly increasing. Finally can't even fit in a lake, so king had it thrown in the ocean, and that was none other than Lord, his expansion as Matsyavata. And he says that gather all the rishis and important vegetations and all the living entities, so that when there is time, the boat will come and you can get on board this boat and I will save you. Now King Satyavrata becomes Vaivasvata Manu in his next birth. So that's why in the translation, Vaivasvata Manu is being referred as Satyavata Manu. So that's just to kind of clarify why that is there. So King Satyavata becomes Vaivasvata Manu, the son of Vivaswan, the sun god. And so they are describing, Shri Drumila is describing the incarnations of Lord, that how has Hayagriva, he killed Madhu. So Madhu Katav were killed by the Lord. And Hayagriva means he had a horse face, Lord had this incarnation. And as Kurma, he carried the Mandra hill on his back, because when the churning of the ocean was taking place, there was no support at the bottom, so the Mandra mountain was going deep in the ground, and it was very difficult even with Vasuki, right, the younger brother of Anantashesh. He, using him as a rope, it was not possible to churn. So again, that has been identified. So as he's describing that Lord, he appeared as Varahadev and killed Hiranyaksh, the demon. He appeared as Narasimhadev and he killed Hiranyakashipu. He appeared as Vamandev, Upendra, the 12th son of Aditi and Kashyapa. And he cheated Bali Maharaj of all his wealth, all his property. So he's saying that, but in reality, we see that when Vamandev went to the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj, he wanted to glorify Bali Maharaj of the tolerance Bali Maharaj had. And he, just by showing his tolerance, Bali Maharaj is glorified yet in his perfection by surrendering everything in the service of Lord, to the will of Lord. So what is important we hear is to surrender to the will of Lord. That is most important. I have my plan, you have my plan, Krishna has his plan. Whose plan will hold? Krishna's plan will hold. So that is a very important aspect. And as it has been identified further, that is how Shri Drumila continues to narrate various incarnations, listing them as how in the family of Bhrigu, he appeared as Parshuram. So that's another Ram. Parshu means axe. So Parsa, that's being referred. So again, and he annihilated the dynasty of Hayas, and 21 times he killed the Kshatriyas, and that's because his mother, she was after her father was killed by the sons of Kartavirya Arjun, his mother was beating her chest 21 times. So he paid attention. So 21 times he annihilated. And we also talked about the 5 lakes he dug at Kurukshetra, which was filled by the blood of all these kings. And so many wonderful stories about that. And that he appeared as, Lord Krishna appears as Lord Ramchandra. And he kills Ravan, the demon Ravan. So Ravan was a Brahman, yet at the same time he had this demonic propensity. He stole Lord Ramchandra's. So it's very interesting. Everybody wants his wife to be like Sita. But then the behavior of the person could be like Ravan. So we have to take lessons from Lord Ramchandra to be of ideal behavior. And sometimes, like in the case of Surpanakha was, she wanted to enjoy Lord Ramchandra. And if not Lord Ram, maybe Lakshman, because they're not different. Yet at the same time, her propensity was by this way or that way she wanted to, by any way. She was ready to attack Sita Mata, and that's where Lakshman, he comes and he cuts off her nose and her ears, and she runs back to Raman. And afterwards she performs sacrifices. So she is performing austerity. And because of the austerity, she takes birth in Mathura. So in Mathura Leela her description comes, where she is born as Kubja, Trivakra, and her body is bent in 3 places. But because she wanted to, her affection was directed towards Lord Krishna, Lord Ramchandra. That desire, that strong desire is being satisfied by Lord Shri Krishna, and he makes sure that she is able to, participate in this Mathura Leela. So it's very important for us to understand that these, sometimes we read them as stories, but understand the message given. They are so wonderful messages. And now there is this pastime, there's one pastime that Sri Drumila, he goes in length. And this is the pastime of Sri Nara-Narayana Rishi. So he's identifying that Sri Nara-Narayana Rishi, they were the sons of Dharma and Murti. And they were perfect ascetics. And they were incarnations of Lord Shri Krishna. And as they were performing this great austerity, they were performing this great sacrifice, at that time, King Indra, the king of the demigods, he became impatient. He became fearful that these Nara-Narayana Rishi, the twin brothers, they will take away my throne, right? So even at heavenly planets in material world, this fear is there. So he decides to interrupt their meditation. Just like in case of Vishwamitra, whom does he send? He sends Menaka, who was successful. There was another, Apsara he had sent before Menaka, and Vishwamitra just turned into a statue of stone. So now when he sends this, Kamdev goes, Cupid goes along with Vayu, the wind god, and with all these demigoddesses, the Apsaras, they have gone. And Kamdev is using his flowery arrows to attack Nara-Narayana Rishi, and they are in meditation. And all these personalities have come, and they are not at all affected. And what happens is when Kamdev is attacking, that enhances, that magnifies all the senses, so that they are able to perceive sense objects thousands of times more than they would normally do. Yet at the same time, the Nara-Rishi are other than the incarnations of Godhead. And they understood the offense that Indra is performing and is committing by sending Kamdev and all these Apsaras and the wind god to just lure them. They are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They are transcendental to the 3 modes of material nature. And Indra doesn't know why they are performing these great austerity for thousands of years, so many times. So they just smile. And it is said in the purport that actually they were very grave, so they would not laugh. But when devotees talk about this pastime, the devotees laugh that, Kandarpa. Kamdev is actually an expansion of Pradyumna. And Pradyumna is an expansion from Lord Balaram, and Lord Balaram is the expansion from Lord Shri Krishna, and Lord Krishna is expanding as all these incarnations. And these incarnations are transcendental, and they are trying to attack. So you cannot approach someone who is spiritual with material aspects, right? Only a spiritual entity can interact with spiritual entity. So this, again, that's why it said, Jivera Sobhoi Krishna Nityadas. A living entity, we are the living entities, and we are eternal servant of Lord Krishna. So now the body is actually belonging to Lord Krishna. So we should engage the body in his service. Everything that we get facility should be engaged in Lord Shri Krishna's service. And Lord Krishna reveals this in Bhagavad Gita. Yat karoshi yadashnasi yajjuhoshi tadasi yat tapasyasi kanteya tat kurushva mada pranam. Whatever you do, whatever you offer, whatever you give away, do that all as an offering to me, O Arjun. Because when we do everything as an offering to Lord Shri Krishna, for his pleasure, then it becomes Naishkarmya. Then it does not have any fruits. Naishkarmya has two meanings. Now this word is very interesting, that has been discussed here. Because they were perfect in Naishkarmya, which means carrying out activities that do not have any reactions. Now from a Jnani perspective, carrying out an activity, actually Naishkarmya also Naishkarmya. So you could say not performing any activity. So a Jnani would interpret the same word with a different mood. And that's why they say, I don't want to engage in karma because it will lead to reaction. Well, not engaging karma is also an action you have taken, which will have its reaction. So we have been given facilities with the purpose of carrying it out and using it in the right, with the right purpose, with the right mood, in the right mood for the pleasure of Lord Shri Krishna. So saying that I would not act is actually also a karma that you have decided not to do. So, and that will have its reaction. So devotees, they engage in devotional service because there is no reaction to devotional service. There is only one mode, that we want to please Lord Shri Krishna. He is a Supreme Father, he is very affectionate, he takes care of us. Eko bahunam bahuvidhatati kaman. So again, he is one who is taking care of many. So we want to just serve him. So devotee of the Lord, like here, the Nav-Yogendras, they are going out, carrying out the mission of God, right? They are spreading Krishna consciousness. Just like Srila Prabhupada, he went around the world spreading Krishna consciousness, and wherever he would go, he would carry Vaikuntha with him. All his disciples and devotees, they revealed, like, the moment you would see Prabhupada, you would know that there is something majestic going on, and he had this potency around him. So similarly, when these demigods had approached Nara-Narayana Rishi, they were seeing that all their tricks, they were failing. And Nara-Narayana Rishi, in a very pleasing way, addressed Kandarpa, Kamdev. Now, Kamdev, actually he had body, so he had not attacked Lord Shiva yet and lost his body. So this is before he lost his body. He was shaking in fear that these are great ascetics and they are about to curse me. But at that time, Nara-Narayana Rishi, who are incarnations of Lord Shri Krishna, they are revealing. And Srila Prabhupada in a morning walk reveals that they were Shakta Vishapta, empowered incarnations of Lord Shri Krishna. Just like Vyasadeva, he was a empowered incarnation of Lord Shri Krishna. He is, let's just say he is, because Badrika Ashram is still there. So here, what happens is, they address that, oh, it is so nice that you demigods are visiting our ashram. So please give us an opportunity to serve you. And by saying that, they are also saying that do not fear. You have not offended us. We are not upset. But give us an opportunity to serve you. And now somebody could say, how would an ascetic serve them? So just to show how they would serve, from the bodies of Nara-Narayana Rishi, beautiful apsaras. So they are able to manifest these beautiful apsaras who were serving Nara-Narayana Rishi. So again, if you have servant, the servant will serve you, and if there is a guest at your house, they will serve based on your instruction, those servants also. So these ladies, they were welcoming, and these were so many, thousands and thousands of times more beautiful than the apsaras that had come from the heavenly planets. So all their beauty was immediately diminished, all these demigoddesses. Their beauty was immediately diminished, all that prowess was immediately diminished, and all the demigods were feeling like, they were astonished, and they were surprised that, Nara-Narayana Rishi could manifest so many beautiful apsaras. And they were surprised by the fragrance of their body, by the looks, by the structure of their body, and the way they were dressed. Everything was exquisite. So that was beyond their imagination. Imagine, sometimes we humans think that the beauty of demigods is beyond imagination, while they are sahasrashat sambhrama sevyamana. So in the spiritual planet, Lakshmi Sahasra, so the hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis are constantly serving Lord Krishna. So here, from the Nara-Narayana Rishi, they manifest all these, they bring, and all these apsaras, and then just to satisfy them, Nara-Narayana Rishi say that, why don't you choose one of these apsaras? So, and she will become an ornament of the heavenly planets. So at that time, demigods, understanding this instruction, they chose Urvashi. So this is the birth of Urvashi. From Nara-Narayana Rishi, they manifested her, and demigods, and goddesses, the apsaras, they kept Urvashi as they departed back for the heavenly planet. They kept her in the front because she was so amazing, so glorious, and they took like that, in their plane, they went to Indralok, and they presented. So at that time, Cupid Kandarpa, he goes to Indra presenting Urvashi, and he narrates the whole incident. So now Indra, realizing that he has offended the great ascetics, Nara-Narayana Rishi, so he's frightened, yet he's astonished to see that these are incarnations of Lord Shri Krishna, and they have no, desire to take away my throne or my position. Rather, they are able to manifest such wonderful, ladies, and such wonderful as their servants who are constantly lovingly serving them. So he is astonished as well as frightened. Now, it's also very important to understand why these ascetics, Nara-Narayana Rishi, were worshipping, right? So we'll quickly cover that. So what had happened was, there was a demon by the name Dambodhava. Dambodhak is also another name for this demon. And just like demons are, a demonic mindset, as given in Bhagavad Gita, as Lord Krishna explains, a demonic person thinks that I have defeated all my enemies, I have acquired so much more, I will acquire more, I will become more powerful, the fame and glories will be mine. So I'm paraphrasing some of the aspects, just to bring the meaning around, and that everyone will be, worshipping me. So with this mindset that he wants to be invincible and he wants to be immortal, he decides to worship. And he worships the sun god Vivaswan. And when Vivaswan is pleased, he appears and asks this demon, Dambodhak, asks for a boon. Dambodhak says, make me immortal. He knew that Suryadev, Vivaswan, he cannot give this boon, but he still asks that. So it is very interesting, when we were kids, we used to hear about this. If you want a license of a revolver in India, you have to ask for a license to have a top. Top is what? Tank. So when you file for a license for a tank, a fighting tank, then you get the license easily for a revolver. So similarly, he's asking for the topmost boon. Make me immortal, which of course sun god cannot do that. So he says, I can't do that. I'm not immortal. How can I make you immortal? So at that time he says, okay, then give me this boon. And then he narrates this boon, that he would not, just like Hiranyakashipu, he uses his speculative power to create a boon. Similarly, Dambodhak also creates a similar boon. What is this boon? That give me 1,000 shields to protect myself. And these shields cannot be broken by any human, any demigod. It can only be broken by an ascetic who has been meditating for thousands of years, who has been performing austerities for thousands of years. And also, the moment the shields break, that ascetic would die on spot, instantly. and thousands of those shields are there. So he's thinking, well, then I'm really protected. And Lord Vivaswan, he thinks about it and he realizes that this is almost like he's asking for immortality, because he's also asking that he would not, his body would not decay during the course of time. He would not have the natural death. This is the way only when his shield is destroyed and then somebody can kill him. That's the only way he can be killed on the battlefield. Realizing this, that it is much like that, still he grants him this wish. So sometimes, because he asked for that great immortality boon, he didn't get that, so this seemed like more doable, which was almost similar. Now, as soon as this boon is given, Damodar, he becomes very proud and starts creating havoc everywhere. And he's traveling north in North India. So Murti, wife of Dharma, she has been approached by various residents in the North Indian area, so India, and they were saying that this Damodar is causing such, so many calamities, and he's causing so much terror. Please find a solution. So she meditates on Lord Vishnu, and when Lord Vishnu is pleased, he appears to her, and then she asks, please take care of this Damodar, please kill this demon, he is causing so much terror. And so he says, yes, I will appear in your womb and I'll take care of it. So she is very happy. And she gives birth to twin sons, Nara-Narayana Rishi. And so these Nara-Narayana Rishi, they are incarnations of God, and then these are ascetics from birth itself, yet at the same time they are great fighters. So they also are great fighters. So Lord Krishna, whatever he desires, he can do it, right? Sometimes people used to challenge, there is a whole group that would go around, approaching different religious organizations, saying that, can your God create a stone so heavy that he cannot lift? And if the answer is yes, that means he cannot be God because he cannot lift it. When they approached Srila Prabhupada on 2 occasions, Srila Prabhupada defeated them very easily. What did he say? Srila Prabhupada said, yes, Krishna can create a stone as heavy, so heavy that he cannot lift. But the very next moment, he would have the strength to lift it, defeating their purpose. On another occasion, Srila Prabhupada said, yes, Krishna can create such a big stone that he cannot lift, but then Lord Balaram will lift it. So again, both ways they are defeated. So here, similarly, Damodar, he is, creating terror, and Nara-Narayana Rishi, so Nar Rishi, he approaches Damodar for fighting. And Damodar says, do you know who I am? Because his name has changed to Sahastra Kavach. So he has 1,000 shields. So Sahastra is 1,000, Kavach is shields. So and the boon, everybody knew what the boon is. He says, let's not talk big words, let's fight. So Narayana Rishi and Damodar, they're fighting with each other. While Narayana Rishi is performing austerity for thousands of years. After thousands of years, finally Narayana Rishi is able to break his one shield. As soon as the shield breaks, Narayana Rishi falls on the ground dead. So Damodar said, should have taken care of it. What does he see? He's seeing Nar running towards him. So at that time he realizes this is Narayana Rishi. Right? He comes, he chants a mantra near holding Narishi's head on his lap, and sprinkles water from his Kamandulu, and Narishi gets up. And he leaves to perform austerity when Narayana Rishi is fighting with Damodar. Now these two are fighting. So again, there is the two descriptions given. One is they perform austerity and then they started. Another place is given that when Narishi is fighting with Damodar, Narayana Rishi is performing austerity for 1,000 years. As soon as 1,000 years ends, because of that austerity, he is able to break the shield. Nevertheless, Narishi starts, then Narayana Rishi is there to bring him back to life. And then Narayana Rishi is fighting, and Nar is performing austerities, he's meditating. And in 1,000 years, Narayana Rishi is able to break the next kavach, so it becomes 998. And as soon as the shield is broken, Narayana Rishi falls dead on the ground. Narishi comes, He sprinkles water from the Kamandulu, chants the mantra, Narayan Rishi comes back to life, he goes to perform austerity while Narishi is fighting. So this sequence keeps going on. And finally there's only one shield left. So at that time, the Modak says, now if they break this shield, I'm dead. So he runs away from the battlefield. And he goes to Suryadev, Vivaswal. He says, please give me shelter. And since this is a devotee of sun god who is coming to take his shelter, it's his responsibility. So he says, yes, okay, I'll give you shelter, do not worry. So now Nara-Narayana is chasing Dambodak, the Sahasrarjuna. Now he has only one kavach. So he's no more Sahasrarjuna, he's Sahasra kavach anymore. He's one kavach only he has. So Dambodak has gone, and so they ask, so Narayan Rishi asks that give us Dambodak, right? We have to kill him. We have to defeat him. And at that time, Lord Vivaswan, Suryadev, he comes and says, sorry, he has taken my shelter, I cannot give it to him. So now Nara-Rishi becomes very upset. He says that you have refused my brother. This demon ran from the battlefield and you have given him shelter, and so all the sins that he has performed, all this he has performed, you are also equal partner. So again, you would also have to suffer. So how do they together suffer? Vivaswan and Dambodak, they appear in the body of Karna. So when Kunti Devi, she asks this, she had received this mantra from Durvasa Muni that she could, invoke any of the demigods and have son of that demigod. So once she was looking at the setting sun and looked so wonderful, and she was not yet married. So at that time, she remembers this mantra that Durvasa Muni gave him because she served him so nicely. And Durvasa Muni, being very pleased, he gives us this mantra, which becomes, comes to great use afterwards. But at this moment, when she looks at sun and she chants the mantra, Suryadev appears. Lord Vivaswan appears, and he is also referred to as Surya Narayan. He has four-arm form just like Narayan, and he is holding, Gada, Shankha, Chakra, Padma. The Kanch, the Sudarshan Chakra, the Kamadaka, Gada like Gada, and a Padma, a lotus flower in his hand. And she says, I was just testing this mantra, I did not, please go back. So he says, no, if you have, the presence of a demigod, it cannot be fruitless. So you have to have the fruit, yet at the same time, the virginity will be intact. And so she gives birth to Karna. Karna also means through the ear, Karna takes birth. But since she was not yet married, so she puts Karna, who was born with the Kamandalu, golden Kamandalu and the Kavach. So she was there. Now, at the battle of Kurukshetra, at the battlefield, Lord Krishna knew that if Arjun breaks away this Kavach, then Arjun would die instantly. So now this is the plan that, Suryadev, he would have to go, Indradev, who is the seminal father of Arjun, he will have to go in the form of a Brahman, and he begs Karna, and Karna is known as Danvir Karna. So it is all the glorious activities that Karna performs is because of the presence of Suryadev in him. So Amsha, an expansion, a portion of Suryadev is in the body of Karna. And all the abominable action he performs because of the Dambodhak, also known as Dambodhapa Bhava, demon. So, because of that. So again, that's why people get contradictory, impression as how Karna is behaving at different times. Because his glorious activities are reflection of Suryadev's, Vivasan's, nature. So, once the Kamandalu and Kavach is gone, Arjun is able to kill. So Arjun and Krishna, then Nara-Narayana Rishi. So again, that has been referred as well. So when they go to see Mahavishnu, so we covered that in 10th Canto. They went there in the form of Nara-Narayana Rishi. So that's also been given. And Lord Vishnu said that you, Nara-Narayana in the form of Nara-Narayana Rishi, please continue to carry out your activities and come back to me. So the path to the spiritual world goes through Vishnu Loka, through Mahavishnu's region. So Mahavishnu is also known as Karano Dakshai Vishnu, because he is residing in Karan ocean. And then Garbhodakshai Vishnu is residing in Garbhodak ocean. And Shirodakshai Vishnu is residing in Kshirosagar, which is ocean of milk. So here, the path to spiritual world goes through Garbhodak ocean. So again, here, as this pastime has been described, now why Indra became, why was he worried? Was because he saw Nara-Narayana Rishi performing austerities for almost 1,000,000 years, right? 1,000 kavach for 1,000 years for each kavach, that is 1,000 times 1,000, that's 1,000,000 years. So that's why he was afraid, not realizing that they were doing it to satisfy Murti, their mother, who had taken this boon from Lord Vishnu, that Dambhodak Rakshas, he has to be killed, that this demon has to be killed. And that's why he sent, Indra sent Kandarpa, the Cupid, along with the wind god Vayudev, as well as all these Apsaras. Now he is frightened as well because he has committed an offense. Similarly, as Sri Drumila is describing the various pastimes of Lord Krishna, that he would appear, he appears as Lord Buddha, and with his arguments he derides the Vedas, rejecting the Vedas. So he's not blaspheming the Vedas, he's rejecting Vedas, confusing the demonic people, so that this unnecessary animal killing in the name of sacrifice does not go on. So that has been described as well as, and that how Lord would appear as Kalki in the, near the end of this Kali age, and he would kill all these Shudras, or the ones who have even fallen from the Shudra stage. So, but posing as kings and administrators, they will be annihilated. So we still have 432,000 years, we still have 427,000 years to go. Yet at the same time, which was prevalent in Srila Prabhupada's time also, personalities would appear in India and they would say, I'm God, right? I'm an incarnation. So in today's time also we keep hearing the person claiming themselves to be Kalaki avatar. He's too early if he's coming at this time, because he appears near the end of Kali age. So that has also been identified. Now the question has been asked, as this class was covered previously, that why is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime not covered, right? When Sri Drumila is narrating all these various incarnations, how could he escape Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? That is because the 9th question that will be asked by King Nimi is where he is asking about the colors, as various colors Lord appears in different times. So that question is where Shri Karabhajan, he responds about the appearance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So that prophecy or that revelation is already there in Srimad Bhagavatam. And that verse is the 32nd verse of the 5th chapter that we'll be covering in our next class. Krishna Varnam Trisha Krishnam Sango Pangastra Pashadam Yagya Sankitana Praye Yajanti Sumedhasaha. In the age of Kali, the current age, intelligent persons, Sumedhasaha. Sumedhasaha means, Medhasa means who's intelligent. Sumedhasaha is very intelligent, very sharp intelligence who have. So intelligent persons perform congregational chanting to worship the incarnation of Godhead, who constantly sings the names of Krishna. So here, Krishna Varnam, so giving the glorifying Lord Shri Krishna, Varnam, repeating the name of Lord Shri Krishna. Tvisha. Tvisha refers to luster, because Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has this golden hue. Krishna, who is not blackish, right? Antar Krishna Baharada. And Radharani's complexion is golden. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari. So again, she has golden complexion. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has golden complexion, so that has been given. And he is accompanied by his associates, his servants, weapons, and confidential companions. And this is where Sankirtan Yajna has been inaugurated by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which simply starts with the chanting of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And during various incarnations being identified, Sri Drumila in this chapter also talks about Valakilias, the sage Valakilias, when they were, helping Prajapati Kashyap, and how Indra laughed at them. So we'll cover this pastime in another class because it's a beautiful pastime. And there's some glorious, amazing incidents related to that pastime, and that's how Lord Krishna, he appears in various incarnations to save Gajendra as Lord Hari. He appears, and how he saves Indra from the sin that he had performed by killing the Brahmana Vratrasur, who was a great devotee. King Chitraketu in his next birth, he appears as Vratrasur. So this is where this chapter ends, where various glories and various incarnations of Lord Krishna have been discussed. And let's also refer to the pictures that have been identified. So there are two amazing pictures in this book. One is here where Dashavatars have been identified, so these have been covered by Lord Krishna. And then here is where we see Nara-Narayana Rishis, they have been visited by the demigods, Kandarpa, the Cupid, as well as the Apsaras, and they are trying to lure them. And at that time, it's shown as how Narayan Rishi, he manifests so many celestial ladies, and that is surprising to all these personalities. Also, this picture is in the back of this book, so that's also there. Beautiful, beautiful pictures, and Srila Prabhupada refers to these as windows to the spiritual world. So this is where we get the glimpse of the glories of Lord Shri Krishna. Please join us for Nasima Devati. Hare Krishna. नरसिंह नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, शिला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णववृंद की जय, गंधा श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, निताय गौ प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.